Because no matter how amazing the city is, it will get old.
I barely had help putting my stuff in the U-Haul.
You can actually redefine yourself.
I had a panic attack.
It's the we that makes it.
There's only 3 cities in America: New York, San Francisco, and New Orleans. Stay Sharp, episode 25. I'm Jordan Ray, and joining me is my other half, Rashad Tyler. We are the duo behind Raire Label, which produces this podcast and supports brands and businesses from strategy to implementation. You're here and you're watching to go to school on our experiences or just observe. And if you like what you see, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit us up for any projects that you're working on and you want some help. We're here for that.
Great intro.
Boom. Yeah.
I decided to give my ad libs a layoff.
Okay, that's okay.
It'll be back next week.
Maybe, keep it consistent.
Yeah.
Next time.
I mean, I turned up last episode, so we'll see.
Yeah, it was a little quiet in here. I missed that. I was wondering if we were rolling or not.
We
were recording.
We did it.
The red looks good on you.
You like it?
Yeah.
I am a capper.
Yeah, and it is actually J5 as we were recording this.
It is.
I don't know if that's okay to say, but
it is perfectly okay to say.
Okay.
All the other
Happy
grease have
Founders
copied, the J and day, but whatever. It's all good.
Yeah. Do we know who the original is?
We've been leading cool for a very long time, and this is another piece of evidence of that very fact.
I feel like people don't know that about you. Would you consider that a fun fact?
That I'm a Kappa?
Yeah. Because a lot of people
You
don't
know
know
what's
that
so
about
funny?
you.
Like I posted, I shared like from like the national page, the Happy Founders Day post, and Louis V, a popular DJ and program director, he's a man of many hats. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know you was the Noops too." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, I'd like to see your DMs after that.
It's not crazy.
Okay.
It's not crazy, but I think a good majority of the folks in my network actually, I ain't gonna say a good majority, a lot of.
I feel like you're the only Kappa that does not have that in their bio.
I have for a very long time. I may put it back.
Oh, you had it for a very long time?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
The character count is, I always go like Noop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just the word.
Yeah.
Usually the symbol is usually, like the emoji is in there.
Word.
I've seen that a lot.
I don't like that.
Or the Greek letters, actually. The actual Greek letters.
I'm not mad at the Greek letters.
Yeah, I think you could get that in there. That's one less character. For you go from 4 to 3.
It's not as cool.
Okay. You rather Noop?
100%. I think I'd rather Noop.
Yeah, we don't talk about that a lot.
We never talk about it. I thought about doing, like, recording the fact that I'm still nice with the cane.
Yeah. But
I decided against it.
I have a video of you with the cane.
Is it bad?
It's it was a rainy day.
Was it a cane or was it a, because I saw.
Oh, it might have been an umbrella.
It might have been an umbrella.
Okay.
The way you're saying that. Because I'm thinking about, like, there was this really, gosh, I don't want to say it about him like this, but like Rory from Rory Mall. He's a Cap, of course. And he has a video where he's doing really not great work with his cane there. I mean, with the umbrella, but I'm just like thinking of myself like, dang, I don't want nobody to capture me like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just practice a teeny bit.
Yeah.
Before you film it.
No, I'm nice still.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to get into it.
Yeah. Why don't we?
The conversation today.
Why don't we?
As everyone knows, we are based in New Orleans. We live in New Orleans. New Orleans is where we call home. And neither one of us are from New Orleans. Sharing a little bit about our story, how we came to New Orleans, why we stayed in New Orleans, what our plans are in New Orleans, and what our plans are maybe after New Orleans, because we might be ready to hint to that a little bit. But besides New Orleans, what's the place that you've enjoyed living the most?
That's a great question. Here, for sure.
Besides New Orleans.
Besides New Orleans? Place I've enjoyed the most would probably be Orlando, for sure. Orlando's kind of home still in my mind, no matter what I do or where I am. I mean, I'm from about 45 minutes away. And it's, of course, where I went to college. And I spent the first 10 years of my, from 20. I don't think I left Orlando until after 5 years post college. So I spent a good chunk of my young adulthood there, and I didn't leave until going to Miami until close to 30. Yeah.
So besides that being home, Orlando, and of course, your college experience was there. Any other reasons that you enjoyed Orlando?
What I would tell anybody though, Jay, like for real, you can be in the most amazing place with the wrong people and it will be terrible.
Sure.
So a lot of the places that I did not enjoy, I know it was because of who I was with or who I wasn't with. So when I lived in Atlanta, I was alone. Atlanta wasn't so bad. It just wasn't very good because I didn't have anybody to share with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I'd been able to really establish or develop community, it would have been a lot easier for me to enjoy the environment, the amenities, the whole thing. And I spent as much time as I reasonably could, I think, with my family, because I have a considerable amount of like relatives that live in Atlanta or around. But it's like, you know how Atlanta is. You got to drive 40 minutes just to visit anybody, and that's close.
I know. Yeah, and Atlanta is a hot mess.
Correct.
But we've talked about Atlanta several times throughout our episodes. It's been brought up.
Yeah.
I would say Lafayette for me. Lafayette outside of New Orleans, so still a place in Louisiana. And a lot of that was due to, and if you didn't know, I did live in Lafayette for about 2.5 years. I coached at the University of Louisiana, and the people there, the hospitality is really, you think about not even similarities, but you think about what the hospitality is in New Orleans and in Lafayette, it's that and then some. Like just Southwest Louisiana it's night and day in a way from New Orleans or, Southeast Louisiana, but it's great. And the food in Lafayette was amazing. And that's something that I would argue with someone that Lafayette has better food than New Orleans. And I'll take you anywhere you want to go in Lafayette. And it's great. They just have great cuisine there. The Cajun, obviously, area has largely impacted the food. And I just have a lot of experience at going to people's houses to eat. Right. Like our coaching staff, like my head coach's wife would cook. Our assistant, one of our assistant coaches, like she would cook. And everybody just seemed happy there too. It was a college town. So it was big enough where there was a lot of people and there was things to do and there was a mall. Like you're not in the country or anything like that, because I've lived in places where there were nothing. Right. But it wasn't as big as New Orleans, and it didn't come with all of the problems also that you living in a bigger city anywhere is going to bring. So Lafayette for me, and super side note, I just think back on the cooking, and that's something that I'm trying to even do more of as of late, is finding my way of cooking and finding the things that I want to eat, the things that I'm good at making.
Right.
And really being consistent with that and experimenting with that and, you know, living off the land, which actually means living off the refrigerator. Whatever's in the refrigerator, we live it off of that. So how can I get creative and, you know, cook something up? But yeah, good memories there. And just the vibe. I think like at one point Lafayette was the #1 happiest place in the country or something.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's deep.
Yeah, you can look it up.
I'll take your word for it. But I believe that how we live and how we, again, like spend the time and who we're with is infinitely more valuable than where we are geographically.
Yeah.
Because no matter how amazing the city is, it will get old.
Yeah, it's not a city that's amazing. It's the people.
It's the people
that you're with, for sure. Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
And there's some great experiences elsewhere. No disrespect to like how we travel and, you know, all of those different things. We talk quite a bit about what we experience, but it's the we that makes it the experience. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what brought you to New Orleans then? I mean, I know the answer, but share everybody.
The girl would be you.
Okay.
I believe that at the time of making that decision, we were already decided between us that we were going to be together. And so there was an option to bring you to Orlando, like, and we kind of build our thing in our life there, or I come here. And it just made, you know, much more sense, and to spare the details of how we came to the conclusion, it was much more, the benefit of being here far outweighed building in Orlando.
Yeah, me coming to Orlando.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what I would have done out there.
I mean, I got an idea, but it's a bigger market, but it's just not this one. Yeah. And I love both places so much, but you can't really call a lot of places in America that has a cultural shadow like New Orleans does. Mm-hmm. And so it's taught me so much by just living inside of the place where the gumbo is actually made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody knows it, you know, and that's that. There's a quote that's shared often around here because it includes New Orleans, but there's only 3 places in the world. That's New York, Los Angeles, and New Orleans or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I never seen that.
I might be saying it wrong. I hope not. I know New York is definitely on there.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know,
I'm gonna look that up.
Every city, every major city in America has like a feel and an ethnicity or some landmark that's kind of driving the narrative or how we think about it. Here, it's not about like style of clothes. Like people come here and let their hair down. Mm-hmm. Right? So you see, if you were ever going to see Kim Kardashian without makeup, it would be here because she would go the opposite direction. If she was going to London, she would turn it up to the max. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think here, the disarming effect that the charm of the city itself and how the hospitality is, it just opens people up to more of a family vibe and more of a hug when you enter the room.
Yeah. The quote is,
okay,
there's only 3 cities in America: New York, San Francisco, and New Orleans.
That's right.
That's right.
That's actually right. Yeah. San Francisco is absolutely a city. Like Chicago comes to mind, but not for those not for cultural reasons. New York for culture. San Francisco, 100%. That's a great line.
So, I came to New Orleans in 2015. So
It's been that long.
A little bit before you. Yeah. 8.5 years. And I took a job here making $28,000 a year. I just have to put that out there every time because shit went down.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't stay in that job.
Yeah.
And I always wanted a reason to have an excuse to move to New Orleans. I felt that living in, Lafayette and Lake Charles before that, and being from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and having lived in Kansas for a little bit to go to school, and I wanted to move to a bigger city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just needed a reason, and I got the job, took it, came here in August of 2015.
Yeah.
And I have obviously stayed. I've had an amazing experience here, but there's also been risks with moving to a new city. But I always leaned on, I'm going to come with another quote, leaned on the quote, the bigger the risk, the greater the reward.
Okay.
Or the bigger the risk, the greater the opportunity, however you want to phrase that. But it's that kind of concept. And before moving to New Orleans that summer, I'm like, okay, I'm about to do this. Am I ready for this? What's next? Because I didn't know. I didn't have any family here. I didn't have really many friends. I wasn't moving here for a person. And I'm here to build a life by myself with just this job and a few dollars.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I really felt like I was that person moving to New York, moving to Los Angeles. It just happened to be New Orleans for me.
Yeah.
Cool. But the risks in that, there's a lot of risk and reward in moving to a new city. And I know a lot of young people are doing that, in their 20s and maybe early 30s, going to a new place to start a career, to take that job, to move with somebody, to just get away from something, to restart. There's so many reasons why you might relocate. But let's talk that risk rewards of.
I think about firstly how bold and courageous that step was. So, and I've thought about it before, but the way that you just shared it.
I barely had help putting my stuff in a U-Haul.
Yeah.
And driving it to New Orleans and getting it into my apartment in New Orleans. Like I had to really be intentional about who I asked.
Yeah.
Because I don't have family that's just obligated to do those kinds of things. That's nearby. My family's not even within driving distance.
Yeah, you made a really, and I'm glad that you did, and I'm glad that it worked out. But that took some guts.
Barely. No.
Took some guts. Wow. I think you articulated the risk reward piece of it.
No, I have more.
Please.
Well, did you feel any risks when you moved to New Orleans?
Yeah.
I know. Share that.
For me, I am obviously going away from the relationships that I've been cultivating most, right? Mm-hmm. And more proximity to family, which I had at the time, being in Florida. But I've been away a lot before that too. So I believe that from a macro, that you're going to have to give up relationships in order to acquire new ones. The question is, are you good enough, committed enough, or inheriting enough of an environment because you've already done some pre-move visits or have a job or have a network or something that you're leaning on? Yeah. And fortunately for me, I'd already partnered with Red Clay Soul, and I was already doing events for 2 years in New Orleans. So I was coming to turn up one of the businesses in my event portfolio at the time. So it gave me some network to depend on, although it fizzled pretty quickly after. I think I did maybe one more New Year's Eve, after I moved here.
Yeah, things changed fast. Happened fast.
That business went away quickly.
Because you moved here in 2018, I believe. Towards the beginning of that year. And just popped off.
And Red Clay Soul, I think, we went out of business or dissolved the business as it was constructed at the time, the top of 2019.
Right.
Right? That New Year's Eve was our last event.
Yeah, 2018, 2019.
Because that thing had gone from like the previous 2 years, I think it was like, 600 or 700 people, and then it reduced to like a 300 person event.
Yeah. Adding to the risk is, not having a foundation, obviously, and that is very scary. That's what did take a lot of guts out of my part to tell everybody around me, hey, I know what I'm doing, or I got this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this. And being labeled a transplant to some extent, like that you're going into a place where, what if you're not received? And what if the community doesn't, you don't take to it, or it doesn't take to you, the people, and being really careful to appreciate something for what it has become without you, because you're not born and raised there, and people in a city are really, I wouldn't even say territorial in a bad way, or just, proud. There's traditions and there's things that you weren't brought up in.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to navigate as a transplant to find that balance and community for you, and to feel the welcomeness, and to make yourself comfortable when you don't really know about anything that's going on, and that, I'm not going to say that it wasn't a problem for me, but it was definitely something that I was aware of, that I, down to understanding, like the first moment I realized I need to have an emergency contact in New Orleans, because I had a panic attack in a mall parking lot. And that was the moment after I overcame the panic attack. I don't know where the hospitals are. I don't know who I would call if I needed something. Having my first flat tire in New Orleans, just potholes. Shout out to the potholes. Who am I going to call? And that person was Jeremy. Eventually, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to Jeremy. We just got to take their engagement photos yesterday. Congrats with Whitney, and it was amazing. I didn't take any photos because I don't want to be taking my iPhone shots, and Devontae is taking the real photos, but they were amazing. You'll see them. And that ended up being someone who if I got in trouble, okay, I know I can call him, and he's from here. Cool. But that was really scary, noticing, oh, who you gonna call, Jordan, if something happens? Because I can call my family, but what are they gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not having an actual hand that you can depend on to do something physical in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And the bright side to all of that, the reward, is the independence that you gain. I think as a young woman too, I'm gaining a lot of independence by moving somewhere where I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. How am I going to navigate this world and find out who I am without having my mom right there, or my
I think
more
it's
family?
Such an important step. Like that, I think, is the thing that some of us are encouraged to do, or we have the personal fortitude to find out who we are by putting ourselves in situations, if not scenarios, that will allow us to find or figure out what we're good at and what we can actually do. And I don't know that you find that without that challenge, right? Or at least without that big separation from the people or the scenarios that have known you the most and the longest.
I would tell anybody who is considering moving to a new place, yes, you need to be calculated. You need to have a plan. Think about all of the things that could go wrong, and put things in place to get you through those moments, because things will go wrong.
Yeah.
But I would tell anybody, move away. Home is always going to be there. And if you have the means, if you have an opportunity, there's a job, there's something that, you can move for, relocate for a little bit, and you can do anything for a year. So I think about the concept of you can do anything for a year, and the bigger the risk, the greater the reward. Just go see what can happen. You can always go home.
There's always, I think the quote that I lean on the most that emphasizes the value of this is go away to grow. So to the extent that you can go away from home or go into, again, that challenging environment, the opportunity to escape previous narratives and how other people saw you and that whole thing is now available because you're not going to be reminded of the time that you made a very foolish decision. And, you know, I was thinking about this earlier when I knew we would be talking about some of this. And I was like, how can I gingerly bring up how for a very long time there was like teasing of more loose women when they would leave a city and pick up somewhere else? Because I think there's a lot of wisdom in the move.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't pick up on the lesson in it. You can actually redefine yourself by getting away from the previous things that you've done, your history.
Sometimes moving away, quitting, changing things up is seen as quitting and walking away, when really it is the most courageous thing that someone could do is to say, I'm not doing this here anymore. I'm going to go do this somewhere else. I'm going to go redefine myself, because that's crazy, you know, if that's something that you're interested in doing and you decide to embark on. So it's
change teams, change cultures, change environment.
Yeah. So with that, we have moved to a new place. We've gone through the risks and the rewards. We're building a foundation. And then on top of that, we decide to start a business in a city, in a market that we're not from. And so what have we learned from starting a business? Because certainly anywhere you start a business, you're not going to necessarily, you're going to be starting it amongst people who have already done that. No matter where you are or if you're from that place or not, there's already going to be people who have started businesses. But in a place where you're also not local, it could come with its own challenges, you know, its own benefits.
Right.
What have we learned from that?
What's crazy is I think being from a place might actually bring more handicap, because you will sometimes depend on friends and family and try to guilt them into buying your thing or supporting your business, and you don't become good. So I think the outsiders, oftentimes immigrants even, have an advantage because they know that the market's going to tell the truth. And so they create products or they create businesses that actually cut through and they add value to people's lives and to how people participate with any, again, product or business.
Yeah.
You can waste your time trying to pacify yourself with fake subscribers, meaning friends and family, or you can figure out how to actually sell and make your thing. And that's how we had to go about it, because we don't have a choice. We don't have any momentum to ride. No way to just like put friends in the room. Although we had some great relationships to lean on, they were all like earned or acquired because we had to do the thing, not because somebody felt sorry for us or we're just like, yo, like let's go over so-and-so's place just to, you know, prop them up. We had to develop a real winner.
I always told myself, don't depend on your family and even your friends. They're not your target market. They're not your customer. They're not, and even if they do buy a product,
thank you,
they're not going to pay the rent. They're not going to buy enough of whatever it is you're selling, services or products so don't even blink an eye. Don't lose a minute of sleep because someone didn't support your or repost something or take your class, because you're not building for them anyways. Matter of fact, you just keep the friendship with them.
Yes.
You know, like don't mix the whole whatever. And yeah, I think that that's something, just starting a business, I always told myself, that's great if my mom want to buy a t-shirt. We're going to give it to her anyways.
Right.
It's great that my friends actually do. If we drop another hat, if we, whatever, not if, but when we drop another hat, when we drop the candles, like we are going to get support. But my BFF is not going to buy a candle every 2 weeks. And even if she did buy a candle every 2 weeks, what's that? $45? What am I going to do with that? You have to reach so many more people.
Correct.
And the market, the market don't lie. Market don't lie. And put that on a t-shirt. But outside of that, the only thing else that I would add is, there's so much research and data and planning that people who are starting businesses and are really serious about it, they're putting in anyways, regardless of if they're from a place or they're starting something or they're testing it in a place where we're like, hey, this product is actually not going to work in New York, but it could work in New Jersey or whatever, you know?
Because you're trying to just find a product market fit and not trying to just make yourself feel okay.
Yeah.
Or because I think there's a world where it could also be framed as trying to hustle your family. So you make a mediocre thing, or hustle the people you make a mediocre thing and try to get them to buy it through guilt.
Yeah. Your New Orleans anniversary is coming up. You've been here for 6 years.
Okay.
Right? So me for about 8.5, you for 6.
All right.
And I don't know, that's a really long time.
It is.
What's keeping us here?
I really like where we live. I like the neighborhood feeling that I've so wanted to have in every city that I've been in. And creatively, I'll be honest with you, like I make better content and I understand the world better through the environment that I have inherited by being in this city. Mm-hmm. There's inspiration around every corner, and there is clarity and humility available through the people that I interact with on a day in, day out basis. And I think when I'm in, and no disrespect to the LAs or the Miamis or even the Atlantas, I just don't necessarily get inspired or pinched or embraced the same way by the things that are either on the street or that the people offer up by who they are, not what they're after.
Yeah. I think that there's nothing keeping me in New Orleans anymore, me personally.
Yeah.
At this time, after this many years.
I agree with this.
And we're starting to have this conversation for the first time. Okay, what does anything else look like? Because for so long, this made sense. And it still makes sense. It doesn't not make sense. But there's nothing keeping me here. And it's a fascinating revelation to come to, because for so long I didn't want to move to New Orleans. I wanted to at least, or just move to a bigger city. It just so happened that New Orleans was the big city in the region that I was in. All right, I'm going to, do that. But nothing really keeping me here. That's how I would answer that. And no shade, that's not bad. It's just an honest answer to that question, because there's also not something that is pulling me to another place. Right. Where sometimes you just know I do want to relocate or venture to a certain city or region or state or whatever that country, and there's something that's pulling you, and it's a constant thought in the back of your mind. And right now I don't have that. And we've spent time in Los Angeles, we've spent time in Atlanta. Have not really spent living time in Houston, but I'm very familiar with Houston, very familiar with Orlando now, right? Even the Tampa area and Miami. Again, haven't spent living time in Miami, but have been enough to somewhat get a feel for, and I've heard you talk about it. But running down the list of those places, I'm just like, yeah, none of those really are checking any boxes for me at the moment. So I'm here and I'm content, and it's okay to be content. Yeah.
It's amazing to be content and to not feel restless, because that's the opposite, right? I think that in the end, my heart tells me Florida is the last destination. I do, to your point, feel very much committed to the next 3, 5, maybe 8 years in New Orleans, like, because we have some things that we're really committed to doing. And those things can only be birthed and done the way that we see them being done here. And so if that works out, which I think those things will work out, it's just a part of, where one of our roots is lodged or kind of locked. And maybe the other root is elsewhere. And it might be 3, I think there's a world where, Tulsa could be in the cards.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that we imagine a world where we have one home.
Yeah. That seems quite far-fetched for us right now because of the way we have just been flexible in being able to move around and be in different parts of the country and be comfortable in different parts of the country. Right. And I like that about what we're able to do. And so, yeah, we're taking a pretty non-traditional, non-committal, yeah, in a very committed, non-committal relationship. And wherever we gonna go, and very grateful for that. I think Tulsa does have to be in the cards just because as I'm getting older and my family and my family dynamic is changing. And me also having a full circle moment where the very thing that I sacrificed to move to New Orleans is something that, well, now I have sacrificed for, to tend to myself, to go away to grow. I should go back and now plant whatever seeds at home. That's because right. I haven't lived at home yet as an adult. You were able to do that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's got to be on the table, and what that looks like, we'll see,
Yeah.
Don't know yet.
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing and I'm just saying this to wrap up the point, the benefit of having spent time at home as an adult. You get to learn your family for who they are because they're no longer raising you. And you start to look across the table as opposed to, looking up at them. And it's a very different experience.
Sounds scary.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we have to, at some point, recognize that our parents are people. And there's no other way for me to have gotten my mother's story other than to be around her as an adult and not a visitor. Because if I'm visiting, she's just going to like create, the moment that we need to create because we're trying to create a memory as opposed to doing life together when you got closer proximity to them. Totally different.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think I'm going to check the box on that.
Yeah.
Like, might as well, even if it's for 6 months or a year or, whatever. It doesn't have to be a committed thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to know, our viewers, our audience, if there's places that you're wanting to move to or you're thinking about, or you just moved maybe. I know all of us are in so many different parts of our journey. Let us know the places that you've lived in, the places that you hated living in. Like I did not like Los Angeles at all. You did not like Atlanta. Someone asked me the other day or yesterday, I thought you and Rashad would end up in Atlanta. I'm like, so who said what? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do
it. I respect and I love how many people have chosen Atlanta as their home and thrive there, but
I'm gonna go to the H before I go to Atlanta.
I'm learning to have even a growing respect for the both of them, but it's hard for me to choose either. As a Floridian, I don't know that there's anything doper than Fort Lauderdale.
Not Florida, man.
Something like that. Palm Beach, that whole thing is.
Oh, say the word. That area, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Yeah, just Palm totally Beach, say the word. But
yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to go.
We gotta have your coins together.
We getting the coins together. Anyways, let us know in the comments where you live in, where you want to live, where you thought you wanted to live and you moved there and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Where you have lived in the past. Just super interested to see where everybody's been. We appreciate you for checking us out. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, subscribe, like, comment, and stay sharp.